So good morning, everybody. My name is Craig Ching. I'm your business law attorney. I organize business entities and I keep them out of trouble. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about today, I was thinking about the two types of clients that I generally look for. And most of you that have had one-to-ones with me know that I'm looking for people that are in the startup phase. And then which is pretty easy to conceptualize, right? Someone that has questions about a business entity or wants one of those things set up. But then when I kind of go and transition into, what it is that's outside general counsel, it becomes this kind of more ambiguous. And I thought real long and hard about, how would be the best way to articulate what it is that I do as outside general counsel. Because I don't know how you can refer someone to me when it's so kind of broad and ambiguous. And so the first thing that I did was I kind of wanted to look and see, what kind of definitions we had out there for general counsel. And I thought Wikipedia, although they're not really the authority on everything out there, had a fairly decent definition, right? And they say, a general counsel is the chief lawyer of a legal department, usually in a company or government department, where the person holding that position is going to report directly to the CEO, and their duties involve overseeing and identifying a wide variety of legal issues in those departments. And define a lot of things in there, like engineering and design, where you might find an attorney that's going to talk about things like products liability, marketing, sales, and distribution. Generally, there's going to be a lot of talk about contracts. Credit and finance, attorneys that specialize in credit and finance laws. Human and resources and production really are more employment-based things, and of course, corporate governance and business policy. But the thing that's unique about the position is that they're reporting directly to the CEO, and at a level of confidentiality, right? And so general counsel often have broad roles encompassing crisis management, compliance reporting management, and public policy advocacy. And that makes sense. With crisis management, companies do come under fire and do face lawsuits. And sometimes there's a lot of correspondence that happens before those lawsuits get filed. And at the same time, those types of companies are often worried about whether the activities that they're doing are in compliance with the law. And of course, public policy advocacy, I think a good example of that are like the media companies that are kind of coming under fire today, like Facebook and Twitter, where their activities, right, are colliding with things like First Amendment issues, freedom of the press, and censorship. And those types of things oftentimes are discussed with their attorneys. And so, many companies also hire in-house counsel to handle specialized tasks such as tax work. My company doesn't do that. Mergers and acquisitions, those are things that I've handled. Labor law, I usually refer that out in intellectual property. Those are things that my practice handles. And so that's kind of a broad definition of general counsel. And it's always been kind of a mouthful to try to explain in a one-to-one. But then there's another layer to that. That's general counsel. What is outside general counsel, and why does my practice do it? And I've always thought about this in this particular way. Litigation and legal issues are not just something that large companies have to deal with. Small and medium-sized businesses face them too. And while larger companies have the resources to carry an entire legal team, small business owners are often left to deal with those problems on their own, because the idea of having an in-house arrangement is often impractical due to the cost, and oftentimes because they just can't generate enough legal issues with which to sustain that kind of cost thrown at a legal budget. So that leaves them with this kind of quandary where they're vulnerable because small businesses oftentimes are going to just say, I'm not going to look for legal advice because I can't afford the fees of a traditional law firm, which can sometimes go as high as $10,000 a month. And it's that vulnerability of operating without the confidence that leaves that can be a danger to a small or medium-sized business, because then it's making its actions without knowing whether it's compliant or whether it knows that it's protected while it's undergoing its business plans and making moves to pursue its business objectives. But this is where an outside general counsel can come in handy. An outside general counsel is an attorney that offers part-time, on-demand legal services to the business, generally without the expense of having to employ a full-time in-house counsel. It's an alternative to that. But similar to an in-house counsel, outside general counsel can perform a wide variety of legal work based on what the client needs. And as a result of that, it can provide business owners with access to legal services at a reasonable rate. And that really is why my practice does a lot of this, is I believe that small businesses and medium-sized businesses should have access to legal resources when they're going about their business. They should have the confidence and the protection when they're going out in the legal landscape. I remember a little while ago, I gave my infomercial that doing business without a legal resource is a lot like playing Minesweeper while you're blindfolded. And it really is, because you're hoping that the step that you're taking isn't going to blow up on you. And I'm thinking that outside general counsel is an alternative to that legal access. Okay. So real quickly, some of the type of legal work that my practice has performed as outside general counsel. A lot of the typical tasks are pretty general: consultation and general legal advice, contract drafting, review. I have done some SEC and state securities filings. Very often I'm asked to do things to help companies with their corporate governance. Their board meetings and their shareholder resolutions, talking to their officers and directors about their fiduciary duties, and to look at things like executive compensation, like stock options, restricted stock agreements. And I've also focused my practice on intellectual property protection, like trademarking, copyright, and trade secrets. I know that the point there says litigation, arbitration, and risk management. While my practice doesn't focus on litigation, it focuses on risk management and keeping companies out of litigation and out of arbitration. But some of the more non-traditional things that may not be as obvious for an outside general counsel, I've been asked to manage other legal teams. Oftentimes I do collaborate with other attorneys that do estate planning, employment, and bankruptcy. And recently I actually managed an FDA firm in helping the client achieve their objectives, because my practice doesn't specialize in everything. And so this is also a good way for a client to be able to focus on their business without focusing on the management of their legal team. I also do legal research and opinion letters. I think I'm probably out of time. 1 minute, okay. I think at least for legal research, that's something that I very much enjoy doing, and that allows me to take myself outside of some of the traditional business practices that I look at. I've done research on cannabis privacy issues like HIPAA and the CMIA and nonprofit fundraising. And opinion letters are really interesting things to do, because those are when a business gets stumped and they're stopped in their ability to move forward, and they want an opinion that's well researched and supported on types of action that they're planning to do. And so these are ways that an outside general counsel can help a practice, can help a business not just avoid litigation, but also succeed in Florida. So if you know anybody that is looking for outside general counsel and an alternative to regular law firms or having an in-house counsel, please introduce them to the law office of Craig Ching. Any questions?
Thanks, Craig. We have time for a few questions. Does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I have one. You probably answered me, but you know, I treat you like my wife, I guess. Hey, do you do 501c3s? You probably did answer me, but again, you're probably like my wife. But so 501c3s, do you do those, Eric? Nonprofit assistance, do the same stuff?
I do. I actually help set them up, and you know, and I do counsel their boards on their types of activities. It's a special kind of animal, but actually, I love nonprofits. Actually, so.
I don't want to be a jerk. Would you be like, I hate to call you out in front of everybody, but you know, nonprofits don't always have the capital tech companies do. Are you possibly flexible? Possibly.
I do. I do offer some flexibility. Actually, the very first nonprofit that I worked with, I did the work pro bono.
You are going to be setting up the Daly City Chamber of Commerce. You are going to be their new doctor. Cheers. Oh, referral. Oh, finally. Cool. I'll call them right after I get off this call.
That was exciting.
Sorry. You did good. I mean, he's really good. I've known him for a long time when I didn't even know it, Craig. This guy is really good. You know, I'm a lawyer. I know a lot of lawyers. This guy's good. I mean it. He's like as good as you can get. For a small firm here, you know, us people, we need people like Craig. And there's a lot of attorneys out there who claim to be like him and do what he does, but they don't. He's the only one I really know that's really solid at doing this. And this is a huge need, especially for our B&I group. Right, and people like us.
And I don't say it enough. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Larry.
Oh, all right. I was just seconding his opinion there. Greg's wonderful. We're so lucky to have him. He's been a big help for my clients. Thank you.
And I was going to say the same thing. I don't say it enough, but I agree with Ken, everything you said. The more I hear Craig speak, the more I want to know someone to refer, because I know you're going to take great care of them. And I have absolutely no doubt in my mind that you're the best, and we are lucky to have you. So thank you, Craig.
Thank you.
Yes, I agree with that too, because I had a customer that I got the referral from Craig, and the feedback I got from her just recently. And so just like, thank you for partnership and, you know, great service. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, as Miriam said, the best to get to know more about Craig is schedule a one-to-one with him, because he's full of information. So thanks, Craig. Any other questions? So we'll come to